Hey guys, my name is Joey Thomas, entrepreneur and small business educator here with 17 Hats. And today I am excited to have with us Will Wohler of Wohler & Co. Welcome, Will.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, dude, thanks for coming on this video with us. And the whole premise of these interviews that we're doing is just the idea of a business of one. That's someone who gets out there, starts a business, and mostly runs it on your own, because I find that quite fascinating, Will. And and I've been there, so I love to hear the journey. So Will, tell me, what do you do?
So I'm a portrait photographer. I'm currently based out of Portland, Maine, and I've been doing photography for a number of years. Kind of started probably like most photographers, just dabbling in like flowers and landscapes, and then eventually it kind of grew into the fascination of portraits. And I've been in business for about 6-7 years now. And yeah, I have a studio in the old port of Portland, Maine, and loving it.
Portland, Maine. How I haven't been up to that part of the US yet. It's pretty cool, right? There's a lot of scenic stuff out there if you wanted to take your work outside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh but yeah. Actually, we have water views out the window.
Oh, you got water views at your studio? That's pretty awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So are you mainly an indoor or outdoor photographer?
Yes, I've started kind of doing the outdoor family photos, that sort of thing, but really enjoy the indoor.
Yeah.
I feel it's a little bit more intimate. I can control the light a little bit more, and I feel more connected to the person instead of having the other elements of weather or sun or clouds or people to kind of interfere with that interaction. So, I mean, I can do both, but I really enjoy the in-studio work.
That's what I was going to ask you. So you can do both, but what really gets you going? What gets you excited with your clients?
I think... So I came from an education background. I went to school to teach music. So I taught music for a few years. So I had that kind of ingrained in me. So seeing that development, seeing someone develop and grow, whether they're learning something new, a new skill, or just pushing through their own barriers, I find I'm really in tune during a session when those walls of my clients fall, and it's like, oh, there you are. Like you've come into your own. I kind of sense that during my sessions, and those are the really exciting parts. Especially, I do a lot of personal branding, and I work a lot with artists and musicians because of my background, and just finding that person within themselves once the walls are down and seeing them kind of come alive is the exciting part for me, and talking with them, like, 'cause that's where it starts. Like once everyone has a passion or purpose, and that comes alive in us, and we come alive when we're living it, and to pull that out of someone during a session is really the enjoyment for me.
Awesome, man. That's amazing. Did you always want to be an entrepreneur? Did you always want to be a business owner running a business by yourself?
No, it just kind of happened. And now I have two businesses. Another one is a subscription box business, and they both kind of started around the same time. So I'm multifaceted entrepreneur, which I never thought I would be doing.
Oh, nice.
I always thought I was going to be a teacher or work for someone else because I enjoyed that. But I really, throughout this journey, I've really grown both personally and as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And I wouldn't change it for the world. It's been a huge growth for me personally. And I think that is one of the biggest takeaways, and why I'm still thriving and enjoying it, because it's constant growth, and there's that teaching and growth and learning aspect again. So
pretty easy, right, to run a business?
Yes.
Just simple, straightforward.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wish.
Just peaches and cream from day one.
Yeah, there are ways to make it better, make it easier, but yes, in the beginning it's tough finding your traction and how you work. Everybody works differently, and you may find the latest and greatest tips and tricks online, but they may not work for you. So you have to find kind of really what works best for you and for your type of clients.
So you made a transition from teaching in the education world in music, which is awesome because it's another creative outlet, right? And a different way. And then you transitioned into going full time. In that first year of business, for all of those that are listening that may be either wanting to take that leap and go full time, or for those who are already there in their first couple of years, I'm curious, what was your biggest challenge? The thing that made you almost say, hey, is this really the right thing to do?
Oh, the one thing, I only can choose one.
Let's
um,
start with what?
Start with what? Yeah. But I think that that's actually it. Starting small, like starting with small steps. Like the first thing was taking that step to jump.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I went from employed to completely self-employed. There were some times where I had smaller jobs here and there, part-time work. But that helped me transition a little bit easier into working for myself full time. So starting small, taking those small steps and breaking things down to smaller chunks. So starting small, I think, was the biggest thing for me. And I didn't learn that right away. Looking back on it, I wish I had, but that was looking back now, I was like, okay, I should have done that, or I could have done that. And it just start small
Start
steps,
small.
small chunks,
You
small
know,
everything.
you made a point, man, that I really want to reemphasize here is that you said that when you in that first year, you weren't making, from what I understood, you weren't completely and solely depending on the business for your income, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it was partial income
Partial.
from the
You know,
business.
in one of the videos that I made, I actually recommended that if you are working another job, to stay patient and transition in a way that allows you to have the freedom of mind to grow rather than putting yourself in a dire situation and then getting into that spot where you need every penny that comes in. It's always good
Yes.
to transition out of something with a strategy rather than just drop something and jump straight in.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a period of time where there was the desperation, the needing of the money, and I was able to work through it. But there was more of a transition period, which I think helped with that. And I was able to find smaller jobs or do things for other people to kind of fill in when I was desperate or needed that extra income when the business wasn't as where it was, or the business wasn't where I wanted it to be yet.
Absolutely, man. You know, so when a lot of people hear photography and you know, there's this idea that all photographers do is click a button and you run it through some automated thing in Photoshop, and that's it. It's the camera and it's Photoshop. Would you, if you were to give me a percentage in running a business, how big of a percentage is the shooting and the editing part in terms of the overall business?
Mm. Oh, I think it's below 50% for sure. Especially if you want to provide an experience for your clients instead of just running and gunning and just snapping photos everywhere. Um, I think part of the business side of things, for me anyways, is the experience my clients get. And that's the brand that I want to portray. And that's what I want my clients to come away with instead of just photos. Like they had an experience, they enjoyed the experience, or um, and they are going to be more connected to the resulting images, I feel, if there is a better experience instead of just showing up, click, 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 and they're done. Um, so I think crafting that and having all of the business side of stuff in line, which thankfully my brother is majored in business, so he kind of helped me out a lot and got me set up when I set up the business, and documents and legal stuff and accounting and getting all that stuff in line. And to help with that process as well for you, so you can have more time to do the clicking of the button and interacting with clients.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, there's a lot that behind the scenes stuff that you have to do, and it was like teaching as well. Like the teaching was a very small portion compared to the meetings and the parent conferences and the grading and stuff like that. So I was kind of used to that, knowing that the stuff that I really enjoyed was going to be a small percentage, but figuring out ways and problem solving ways to allow myself to have more of that time.
Yeah.
And because that's what fills me up. That's what I enjoy. And finding those processes and automations and all that stuff has really helped with that.
Awesome, man. And I think you make a really good point just about being under 50%. It's probably even less than that if you were to write up all of the processes and the things that you have to do, right? And for those listening that are in a, have a creative outlet or want a creative outlet and want to jump into whether it's photography or videos or being an artist of any type, that art part of it, that stuff that we enjoy is typically a very small part, and you have to have everything else. So Will, you mentioned the client experience, and we know that depending on the type of store you go to, right? You go to Walmart, there's a certain type of client experience. And if you go to, Christian Louboutin, you have a different type of client experience. And or there's even I've been watching behind the scenes on, this sounds funny, but watchmaking, and I learned a lot about Rolex.
And, it's fascinating. Yes.
And it's fascinating. And even when you go to a Rolex store, there are certain places where you can't buy one unless the rep has a relationship with you and they offer you a watch, which I just found fascinating. And you just keep going back because people love that interaction. They're in love with the product and the history of the product. So when you talk about a client experience, I'd love to know what that's like for your clients. Like when they interact with you, when they reach out to you, tell me a little bit about the overall client experience you provide.
Sure. A lot of it has to do with 17 Hats and their automation and workflows. It's been a lifesaver for me, to be honest. But that's also 6 years after I first started with 17 Hats and my business, not knowing my process and not knowing what I wanted to provide for customers. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things too, is knowing what you want to provide for your customers. Do you want to just be the one where they show up, click, 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 and they're done? Or do you want to give them more tools so they can have a better session and feel the best and look the best, and then have images that are going to last lifetimes? Like, I want that more curated experience and kind of demystify the idea of, oh, you just show up and have your picture taken, because everybody hates having their photo taken, me included.
Yeah.
So having that experience, first of all, eases that a little bit. And for me, it's all about information. It's sending information, but also at the relevant time, like making sure that they get the right information when it's relevant and important, and so they can stay engaged. Like, when someone reaches out to me, they get an automated email that says, hey, let's schedule a call. People who are right away, they're going to get that. If they're interested, they're going to schedule a call right away, and then they'll get another day later a questionnaire to talk more about what they're looking for, so we can have a better discussion instead of just, hey, let's take your picture. Like, there's more for that than that clients want and need than just a picture.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not looking for a quick transaction where someone is just booking you. You're hoping to start a conversation.
Yeah, of course. Even with I have a quick headshot session that's 30 minutes. You can book online, but we still get on a phone call. Like, we still talk through what they're looking for and how they want to be portrayed. What is the image going to be used for? Like, getting more information so you can provide the service and the resulting image that they're going to love and that they're going to be proud of. Like, that's what I'm there for. As long as I walk away with one image that they're proud of, I've done my job.
Awesome, man. So a lead comes in, you're sending out an automated email, so that, because there is some research out there that says those who respond to a new lead within the first hour is 7 times more likely to actually book that lead. Right. And I found that to be true as well in my businesses. And so, and you're right, the automation part of that is key, at least to know, hey, we have started a conversation here.
Right.
because
Yep.
running a business by yourself, I would think it comes with many challenges, but for those who have families and those who have other hobbies, this is not the only thing we do, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
I have two little kids. And so, we can't always be right there on our phones to send a response back, right?
Right. Right. Well, and
And
it's like you see on Facebook sometimes, like, oh, I'm looking for a plumber. I reached out to 6 people, but nobody responded. And it's like, why?
I
You
know.
just lost that. Like, sending that out right away, like more likely, like you said, to book. And you're starting that conversation. It's not like they're booking right away. We can have a conversation and see, I can recommend what might be the best fit for them on the phone, like
Yeah.
when they schedule a phone call with me. And then we can narrow it down to what they're looking for. And then I have a consultation where we meet via Zoom or in person, and then it's more in depth. It's like, okay, what are you wearing? What kind of backdrops and colors? Is this personal branding? Are you doing it for business or is it for your family? Like, how can we coordinate colors
Awesome.
and that sort of thing? What family groupings do you need? So there's more in-depth conversation as we go. So it's not like everything all at once. We can have the slow build up, and I get the information I need, and also the clients are feeling a little bit more comfortable because it's a longer process and they're not just showing up to have their picture taken and leaving.
Yeah.
So
So the second part is after you got that got off that phone call, they filled out that questionnaire. So you're saying you are trying to meet them in person and have an in-person consultation, right? That's the second part of that
yes.
part of the client experience. And so, and in doing that, you get to connect with them a lot more and know exactly what their needs are.
Yep. We even like, I have them bring outfits that they're thinking of. We can talk about patterns and colors,
That's great.
especially for personal branding. Like if they're building a website, they might have branding colors they want to incorporate or never even thought of that. So we might pull and figure out different outfits based on that. But I talk through the whole process then, and kind of it helps them know what's coming next, so they can prepare at least in the like maybe a week or two in between before the photo shoot to actually prepare their photo or their wardrobe, and maybe even just themselves, like getting ready. It's like, okay, he helped me at this consultation. I feel a little bit more prepared. I know what outfits I'm bringing. The hair and makeup artist is going to be there. We can talk. I can send ideas. We can bounce ideas back and forth via email in terms of inspiration and that sort of thing. So it's a more involved process, but I find my clients end up leaving with better results.
Great.
At least in my opinion. And I'm getting more compliments about the process. So like, oh, I love the process. Thank you so much for this information. It was really helpful. So having that information and that the longer process ultimately gives you the better experience.
Great. Are you booking your session there at the consultation, or have you already technically booked the session over the phone?
Well, so I have an intro call, which is just quick 10 minutes or so, just to get an idea of what they're looking for. And that's when I can give, oh, you just need a headshot. So here's my 30-minute quick headshot refresh session. You can book right online. Or you need a more involved personal branding session. Here's that information. So I give all that information over the phone. And then they have the option to book from there. So I'll send the relevant information. Oh, I'm thinking of a personal branding session. So I send that information via email with a link to schedule their consultation. Then they'll get documents and stuff to fill out, quote, contract invoice, and that's when they're booked, essentially.
So they could book
at the consultation.
Great. So they could book even before the consultation.
They could for my shorter sessions, but all of my longer sessions, basically a full session, a regular session, we go through the consultation first, and they technically booked when they booked the consultation. So.
Fantastic, man. You said something key just a few minutes ago, and that was preparing the client, preparation. And one thing that I know in all business, especially when we are running a business of one and we're doing this on our own, is that we could get a little frazzled and a little overwhelmed with all the hats we have to wear, right? And so one of the things that we tend to do, or one of the things we tend not to do, is prepare our client. And from my experience, the less confusion there is, the less a client has to wonder or guess, the more they trust you and the more comfort that they end up having with you, right, in the
Mm-hmm.
process, which
Mm-hmm.
in the end turns into relationship and ultimately
Mm-hmm.
turns into dollars,
Right.
bottom line, right? That's why we run a business. And so that was, I think that was a key point, man, just to help prepare a client. You also mentioned something else right after that, in passing, was that the quote invoice contract goes out. And so is
Mm-hmm.
that's something you're doing through 17 hats, correct? The
Yep.
link
Yep.
goes out, they
That's
have
all
everything
automated.
right there.
Yeah. Basically, when they're done with the phone call, I will send whatever kind of session they're looking to book. They will book the consultation. Once that's booked, a quote, contract, and invoice will get sent automatically for them to fill out online. And then another questionnaire will be sent out if it's more in-depth branding or session or something like that. So there's like 3 or 4 emails before I actually see them in person that I don't touch. It just kind of goes automatically, which is a lifesaver. Like I said, they're getting the information when it's relevant and not just getting all of it all at once or not at all. Like it's a slow trickle, but it helps with the process so they know what to expect. And in my emails, it's like you will get the next email will have a quote, contract, invoice. Here's what you need to do for each step. And once that's done, we'll do this, and walking people through it, because they don't know the process. They don't know your process. Everybody's different, and everybody works their business and runs their business differently. So they're not going to know. So having all that in place, sent out, knowing in advance, it's going to help them work with you and like you said, have that better relationship, which turns into dollars.
Love it, man. I love how you let them know that this is what's coming in the next email, and just easing their mind of what's happening. Nobody likes to be kept in the dark, right? Especially when they're possibly spending thousands of dollars. Right. Imagine walking into a store and you pick up an item and you're looking around and you have no idea how to check out. You have no idea where to take this. There's nobody around. There's just an item and nothing else. It would be so confusing that most people will just set it down and walk away.
Exactly.
Like at a museum, right?
Right.
Just don't touch.
Right. Well, and for me, even with my other business as well, it's reduce the friction. For some reason, I don't know where that quote came from, or maybe I just came up with it. I don't know, but reducing the friction that's in the process, like it helps them get to the buying point faster, because they don't have to. A confused mind says no. Like even if they're online retail store, if it's confusing, like you don't know how to check out, or, oh, I had this deal, but it's not working and the coupon code's not working, I'm just not going to use it. Like that's friction. Like reduce the friction so people can buy with you. And ultimately it helps them have a better experience.
I can have a whole conversation on that in surrounding websites. Websites are the perfect place where we can say reduce the friction, right? Give them a journey to be able to reach out to you. And it's I think the most common place I see a lot of friction, from the very beginning. So that's a whole different conversation. Will, don't get me started, man. And so, all right. So in terms of client experience, now we've kind of walked through the journey with you through how they're sitting down and having this relationship, this conversation with you. I'm guessing after that you go in and you do the shoot. I'd love for the people listening and who wants to improve the conversation in a nutshell. What are some wants to improve the experience in a nutshell? What are some takeaways? What are some things that you do that you could share and maybe pass on some of that knowledge so they can have the same experience with their clients?
Well,
put you on the spot, Will.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, start small. Like break things down into the smallest, minute details, and that goes for your process. For me, I didn't understand or realize that I needed and thrived off of structure and process and workflows. It took me several years, even with 17 Hats, who had it all built in and I was all ready there. I didn't start using workflows and automations and stuff until a few years after I had used 17 Hats. And I think it was because I didn't know my process. I didn't know how I wanted my process to look. I didn't know what my clients want, what I wanted my clients to get out of it. Like, I think knowing your process, knowing what you want your clients to get out of it will kind of help start the process. And then for me, I literally wrote out every single step of my process, one long, multiple pages of, I send this email, I send this questionnaire, they respond with this, we book this, like every little step, even the down to the download the cards after the shoot, back up my hard drives, which is all stuff that client doesn't need to see, but it's information for me. So I have it in steps. And then from there, I broke it down even smaller into different stages. So I have my booking or my leads. They come in, we have that intro call, like I said. Mm-hmm. And then once they schedule the consultation, now they're in the booking. So they get their quote, contact invoice, more information about booking, what's coming next. And then when we schedule the photo shoot at the consultation, then they're in the photo shoot. And that's all me setting up my gear and checking my gear and sending a how to prepare email to them about wardrobe and all that stuff. And then, so breaking it down into smaller sections has been a huge thing for me. And just realizing that I needed that structure. And now I'm like, how did I live without this? It's been wonderful. And clients are loving it too. Like I still get compliments about, oh, I love the process. I love getting that information. Thank you. It was very helpful. I didn't realize this, or I know we talked about this, but that really solidified it for me. And so just start small and know your process and refine it. Don't be afraid to refine it. Like if something doesn't work, don't just be hard-headed and stick to it. Like figure it out and refine it even more.
And I would say it kind of comes all back in circles, right? Because the reason most people leave those processes alone and they don't do anything with it, it's because they're too busy.
Yeah, exactly. They're too busy. Exactly.
They're too busy working in their business and not on their business. And we tend to do that when we don't set up workflows and automations where we're trying to do everything manually. And it turns out to be a lot. Oh, dude, that was awesome, man. I love that. I think that's going to help a lot of people, Will. And I appreciate that, but I want to wrap up here with a couple of questions about you. What instruments do you play, by the way?
I'm a percussionist, classical percussionist, not really drum set, although I can do a basic rock beat, but more of the orchestral type percussion that you see in symphony orchestras, timpani, marimba, snare drum, that sort of thing.
I should have had you set one up, man. That would have been cool to hear.
Oh, I don't own any of those instruments because they're large and expensive. My money goes to camera equipment.
I've been in music a long time, and I love I watch all those shorts of percussionists doing some crazy stuff, right? Throwing this and doing all kinds of crazy. I love that stuff. So that's pretty cool, by the way. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. 20 years from now, if someone were to write a book about you, what would it be about?
Oh, geez.
Or what would you like for it to be about?
Yeah, I think I can't get away from this growth side of things. There's just the personal growth that I've had starting a business has been leaps and bounds. Like I don't think I would be where I am personally without starting my business. And just learning about yourself and growing so that you can better others and work with others and allow them to do the same, even if it's just a small, tiny little interaction. Just being able to do that for other people, and also show them themselves in a light that they don't see very often.
Awesome, man.
As a portrait photographer,
yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you again, Will. And all you guys watching, if you have not subscribed to the 17 Hats channel yet, go ahead and click subscribe and hit that like button right now. We'll be back with more entrepreneurs and businesses of one, just like Will here. Thank you again, Will.
Thank you.
For coming. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Right? Oh, definitely. Thank you.
Next time, you're bringing a drum, man. You're bringing a drum.
Okay.
We got to do an intro and an outro with you on timpanis. Okay.
Okay.
I think that's the way to do it.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you again, man.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.